this is a little extra onto what I just did there, because I've seen it come up in the papers a few times. So again, this is where we are saving for our holiday fund or our pension. And the example I just did was an example of where you're putting in your first payment. I'm going to call that S1, even though they're all the exact same number. S1 stands for your first payment at the start of time frame 1. And when your first payment goes in at the start, so every payment goes in at the start of a time frame, that means that when you collect at the end of time frame n, your S that you put in, your very last S, your nth payment, will be worth S times 1 plus I. That's the example I just did. Your previous one will be S times 1 plus I squared, and your very first installment, the value of that into the future will be S times 1 plus I to the power of n. That is a geometric series, and your A is S times 1 plus I, and your R is 1 plus I. Sometimes they can state that the installment, your installment goes in at the end of the first time frame. Now, if your installment goes in at the end of a time frame, that means your nth installment will actually go in just as you're collecting, because it's going in at the end of your time frame. So that will never have any interest added on. So that will only ever be worth S at that time when you collect your money. Sn minus 1 will be worth the S multiplied by 1 plus I, because there'll be a time frame in the difference. And then if you work your way back, your first installment, if your installments are going in at the end of a time frame, your first installment, n time frames later, will be worth S times 1 plus I to the power of n minus 1, not 1 plus I to the power of n. So hopefully you can see the difference. Your A is S in this geometric series, and your R is still 1 plus I. Okay? But the A is different, because when it goes in at the end of the time frame, that means when you're collecting your last one, that installment you've just put in never gets interest. So your first term, when you add up your geometric series, the first term is S. So just to be aware of that, because that will give you a slightly different formula, because your holiday fund is the sum of that geometric series. So your A is different. So your sum is A times 1 minus R to the power of n. Sorry, I'm going to put 1 plus I in there. 1 minus R to the power of n over 1 minus R. So it will be slightly different. Remember that I is the interest rate as a decimal. All of those are the interest rates as decimals. Okay, just a little addendum for that.